All right. So I'm Sagar Bhattacharya. I did my PhD from Syracuse University. I was mostly working with biochemistry and chemical biology, where I did some of the protein engineering for directed evolutions of enzymes, and that's like about like during COVID time, very hard. But then I moved to UCSF, and now I'm working with Professor Bill DeGrado. We do de novo protein design. So the idea is that we can try to use some of the AI-based sequences to perform some of the functionalities which are not known to nature. So that's pretty much like it can be catalysis. We use that for drug delivery approaches, something. So I joined YCC in 2023. So basically, when I got the appointment, it was like a 1 year like associate positions starting from 2024. And then when I took the lead on this local section leadership summit, we were thinking about that what should be the structure of the summit and which are going to be the very important points we need to think about. So the goal of this leadership summit has been that how we can have a nice network between the local section YCC and the national committee. And we do have some of the student chapters, or also we have some of the international student chapters. We do have representations from Asia, Africa, Canada, and like different places. Very recently, I got email from IUPSC subcommittee, so they have been very interested. Right? So these are really important. So I have been doing it 2 times a year. So one is like during the summer when I invite the president-elect candidates, because I think that's a very important uh, part for all the local section, like or the next generation chemists, the young leaders, because they have been like an absolutely fantastic over their careers, and they achieved so much, and ultimately they are running for the top of the enterprise, so they can just share all the experience how they actually became a leader. And the second part, it's like around November or December, something like that. I organize that, and that I call it like a Chem Luminary versions. Like every fall meeting, the Chem Luminary awards are awarded to the local sections and the other uh, divisions. But the fact is that what we noticed that, okay, they are getting awards, but for instance, Chem Luminary Awards are being given for three different categories, like outstanding local sections, outstanding new local sections, and also a creative events. So basically, uh, although we know that these type of things are there, the local section leaders or even us never got a chance to learn a lot, like in terms of all the difficulties or the problems they actually encountered during all their activities, and how did they overcome all those, and what would be their suggestions for the next generations of scientists. So I thought it would be really great if they can share all those journey through our platform. So that's the whole idea. So we are going to have another one in November or December something. So please keep an eye on that. So now I'm just like going to talk about some of our national YCC. So it was established in 1974, and then we are a joint board and council committee. So basically, we do have a board of directors, pretty much, who actually appoints this committee along with the ACS president. We do have like about 30 members, including the associates. So right now it's about like a 1/3, 1 to 3 distribution, something like that. So 20 whole members and around 10 associates we do have. And we do have, like I said, that age limit of 40, or you can be re-elected or reappointed like for 3-year terms, or otherwise I can say like a pool member terms, basically. So all the 3-member terms, the pool member terms. So this is the structure. Basically, we do have 4 different subcommittees. Like one is like a global engagement. I can just like quickly go over all those. So global engagement subcommittee typically takes care of like planning the national meetings. We generally do have some of the events like, fun run, like a grad and postdoc scholar reception program, some of the, other special ceremonies or something. So that's something GE takes care of. The second one is the local and regional affairs subcommittee. Have been a part of that, organizing the local section leadership summit. That's something like event we are organizing on a regular basis now. But the goal is to support all the local sections. So that's what like we are looking for. We do have local section YCC grants, and also we actually play a very important role in terms of like regional meetings. So we generally have several of them, and then we try to go there, or like some of my colleagues try to go there, and then they organize some of the events suitable for YCC, like for instance trivia night. Very recently we had similar of like a Western regional meeting here. The next is Geo, like a governance, interface, and outreach. So they play a very critical role for appointment license for different technical divisions. Like, ACS has like several different technical divisions, and Geo is actually appointing them. And the second thing is awards. So I will definitely talk about the YCC awards at some point in my presentations, but there are several awards to recognize the efforts from the Younger Chemists Committee, and at the same time, it's not only about like similar, like I'm talking about Chem Luminary Award or something on there, but also we know that we do have some uncertainty, and people are having trouble in terms of traveling to like attend meetings or something. We just like try to have some of the funding, or grant opportunities for those. And also we have some leadership institutes, so just to give some of the professional development like workshops, something like that, to help people. And the last one is not the list, is the communications committee. So they help to advertise all our events like on social media. We do have like a LinkedIn, Facebook, X, I think, and we generally post it. And also, if you really wanted to advertise any of your events, there is a form and you can fill that in. And then basically we are gonna do all the advertisement for you. Okay, so in terms of the strategic plan, that's something I really wanted to discuss here. So basically, we are thinking about like a 3 different pillars. So one of them is like a advocacy, the second one is development, and the third one is support. So advocacy is like we do have different like ACS and YCC groups. The important point is that how can we actually communicate with different YCC needs, and support them, because like sometimes like depending on the positions, they just need some support. And of course we just like will try to develop some of the programs which can be beneficial for their professional development, or moving forward down the road to their career trajectory. Second thing is the development or advancement. So we do have some of the programs and the supporting tools, and we really wanted to discuss and develop some of those tools or programs to assist the younger chemists, so that they just know that these type of resources they have available. And of course that leads to my third point, which is like empowerment, and that's something is the connection. So basically, we try our best to provide all the supports, resources, but you are very open to be connected with some other like a community. And of course, if something which we cannot help with, they can try their best to assist you. So that's how our vision is, that we will be able to transform the our like world through chemistry and chemical. But it doesn't only have to be academia, because like we get people from industry, we get people from government, we get people from law. So I all the time feel that when I go to YCC, like our XCOM meeting or something, I am exposed to a lot of different expertise. That's amazing, because I have been academia, for instance, but I mean, when I go to the lab, I only can meet with my colleagues who are thinking like a very similar, like, or somewhat similar. I'm thinking, but when I go there, I mean, I like like have lunch or dinner like with someone from law on government, and that's just like something amazing to hear all those stories. So that's really amazing. And the support, I think now it comes down to the most important questions, which I most of the time get, like in terms of like how to start like a new local sections or something, which Hope was also talking about before. So basically, we do have the local section grant. We generally have like about $500 funding, and when we get an applications, like there are two times, like March 1st and August 1st, which you can see here. And then basically we evaluate all the applications, and we just like try to find out like which two or maybe three, depending on the funding or availability we have, we're gonna fund. Like it's not only the situations that okay, $500, so only one local sections will get it, but instead I should say, if we see that okay, um, there is a promise and all the activities which you are proposing, it's something really important, and you are very passionate about all those, like, and you do have some of the important or thought process at least going on what you are going to do, we certainly will try our best to fund you. That's the most important thing. So joining an existing LSYCC, if you are planning this route, of course, you need to talk to your local section, like especially who have been the executive committee, like, chair, counselor, or some of the other executive committee members who can guide you in this way. And also then you can definitely talk to your local section chair or some other members. They're going to assist you because they know the best what's going on. And basically, that's how they can help you with. So basically, that's the next one, the new local sections. And that's something I was talking about. We do have like an ALSYCC starter kit. It's a PDF document. It's not too long, about a 10 page or so. But that's very important because that has all the ideas you can think of. Like basically, there are several different events which you can plan and organize. That's important. Like especially you can do some of the professional development program. You can do some of the social programs, some outreach programs, right? For instance, if you are thinking about the professional development, then of course, like you can organize a seminar or webinar or something like that, or you can think about a poster sessions or even symposium or something, and that's going to be very helpful. For the social events, we have seen that some of the ice cream socials, like hot chocolate social, um, these have been very successful over the years, and I certainly would recommend you to think about all those. In terms of the outreach, um, we do have like a two major outreach events, especially ACS organizes or like, and at least has like, theme for those two. One of them is like a chemist celebrate Earth Week, or we call it like a CCEW. This time it was like a into the woods with chemistry. So that's the theme. And basically we had like a lot of outreach events going on. In fact, I can tell about myself. I have been a CCEW coordinator of the Cal ACS, like or California local sections, we do have a very nice program in the John Moore Historical Site. We also went to some of the other places, and it's been very successful. That's just amazing. We also do have like a National Chemistry Week that happens like during October, and this time the theme is construction. So I don't know exactly what the theme means overall, like, or which directions we're looking for. Like, from my protein design or engineering perspective, I think like, okay, when amino acids are like a building block, like all this, like a protein chemistry. So that's also a part of the constructions, right? Something like that. But I think we will need to wait a little bit more to know exactly what the construction teams particularly are looking for, like in terms of like some of the ideas of the events. But anyway, so those are some of those important events you can think of, and also um, tour, like museum, or like some of the industry tours, or like a brewery place. Like these have been like also quite successful. We have seen historically, and we have funded some of those applications. They were like excellent. That's all I can talk about. So I certainly will upload that PDF in the chat box to give you an idea what's going on, and how you can slowly move forward step by step. Like that's the most important thing. And one important thing to consider after you are done with all the events or something, you need to submit an annual report, because that's something is critical for us to evaluate your applications for the Chem Luminary Award. So basically, if you are thinking of starting a new local sections, first of all, you need to talk to your local section, like chair, counselor, and other members. They are going to be very helpful. And then you decide on like who is going to be the liaison, and like who is going to be the representative of your newly developed or minted local sections, and basically then you advertise that within your peers, and to know like how many people you wanted to recruit. The most important thing, it all depends on the local sections, because some of the local sections like are pretty small, and some of them like they need a lot of people, and that's how it is. Like sometimes it's good enough like 2 or 3 people, ALS YCC, that's good enough, but sometimes you need like maybe 6 people or something. It depends, completely depends. And I think your local sections will be able to assist you on that. And of course, if you are done with all those decisions, please reach out to us, because then we will know. And what's important is we really wanted to have your local section YCC website to a common place, so that every local sections and the local section YCC are exactly in the like a same locations. We exactly know during the navigations, like what's there in, and what's going on with all this. So that's very important. We really have like a specific sets of like criterias or something. So we just like wanted to make sure that everything is in one place. So that's very important. And like I said, that you organize your events and apply for Chemiluminary Awards, and we'll see all the great things you can achieve. And of course, I talked about the local section grant beforehand, so I didn't want to repeat that. Finally, I want to introduce you that Catalyze the Vote, that events. Like again, I know that this is like a little earlier now, um, because this is June. Catalyze the Vote typically happens in September. So we do not have the exact date yet, but this is a virtual webinar. In case you have missed our session today, you certainly do have an opportunity to be there in the Catalyze the Vote. Please register for it. And of course, our 2027 President-Elect candidates, and of course, like Laura Sremaniak is here, and we have the other president-elect candidate, Lisa McElwee-White from University of Florida. So they will be there, and you certainly can ask your questions and post the questions on the media. So that's very important. And finally, I would like to mention that this is for you, this is your platform, and that's the reason we really wanted to make sure that you try to take the advantage of all the resources and the opportunities we are trying to provide you. You certainly try to attend some of the YCC events during our ACS national meeting. That's the best way you can be very well connected with our executive committee, because we generally are there in person. And now I think we have like some the coffee hours or something, coffee breaks happening like on Sunday morning. So, just please try to be there, because then you will be able to meet me or my colleagues in person, and certainly they will have some of the excellent ideas for you. And you can certainly ask them questions and, have some time together. Like I mentioned, that we also do have some of the like events like fun run and like grad and postdoc scholar reception program. So these are all really great events for you. And also I was talking about the awards. So we have the Chem Luminary Awards. We talked about it. We do have a leadership development award program. So in general, we do like provide a funding support for about the 30 people, like not 30, like 15 will get like a full support, and other 15 we generally invite to the Leadership Institute, which happens in January. So that's the workshop that also gives you like some of the ideas about the outreach programs or something, and just to um, like make you more proficient in terms of this leadership and the development. So these are important. Again, we all the time support your interest to host an event at a regional meeting. And certainly, I wanted to say that if like we all the time try our best to be there, at least one of them. So if I cannot, I mean, there are like some of my colleagues who generally try to be there. But there is already a form, so please fill it in so we know if you are planning to attend or something. If you have anything to advertise, please reach out to us, and we are going to try our best uh, to support you to the best of our ability. And finally, if you have any plan to serve for our national committee, so we do have a committee preference form which opens in March, and it generally ends in July. I think this year it's like a July 6th. That's the deadline. So basically, if you are looking for serving the national committee, please try to fill it in. Committee preference form is absolutely essential to put a step forward to the national committee. And pretty much like every year you will have to do it, unless you are a full member, like 3-year terms, then of course you are going to do it in the final year. And basically once you are done with your terms, then again you need to do it if you are looking for a positions for another national committee. So that's how it is. And this committee preference form we all the time talk about during our YCC executive meeting. So you'll have to do it. That's like literally every time we meet in the spring meeting, that's been one of our discussions. So committee preference form is very important. So again, we certainly want your voice. So please, reach out to us. And these are the websites where you are going to get all the most updated things for YCC. And again, you already have my emails, but I mean, that's not hard. Of course, we have all the information on the website. So please reach out to us, and we'll try our best to help you. Any questions so far? All right, so I mm, um, will start with my introductions to 2027 President-Elect candidates. Dr. Lisa McElwee-White, I haven't received an email from her yet, so I don't know, like probably she missed or like um, missed that or something. But I wanted to introduce her. She has been an Cornell Allen R. and Margaret G. Crow Professor of Chemistry at University of Florida, and her lab is working with a mechanism-based design of organometallic precursors for the deposition of inorganic thin films and nanostructure. So she did her PhD from Caltech and postdoc at Stanford from Dr. Coleman's lab, mostly inorganic or bioinorganic chemistry, I guess. She won many awards like a Florida Award, Charles Hardy Medal, Olin Medal, Paul Gassman Distinguished Service Award, and Southern Chemist Award. And she has been very active in like a ACS National Committee and also being a part of different technical divisions, like for instance, like particularly I'm talking about like divisions of organic chemistry because she has been a chair in 2009, and also she has been an editorial advisory board for ACS Applied Materials and Interfaces, and I think she is holding membership positions for Committee on Publications and also the present counselor of ACS divisions of organic chemistry. So, I mean, she has been one of the candidates and she's not here today, but I'm sure you are gonna hear more from her on the Catalyze the Vote, which my colleague Annabelle Lolinko typically organizes. Our second speaker today, Dr. Laura Sremaniak, and she's from North Carolina State University, where she is a teaching professor and associate department head of chemistry. Her research was mostly focused on computational and theoretical chemistry. To some extent, I feel like somehow it's related to my computational protein design. It's been but yeah, mostly theoretical. I have been like very interested in all those like applications of theoretical model to our protein design approaches. That's been my research interest as well. But yeah, so she won many awards. I'm sure that I couldn't list all of them, so sorry for it, but at least there are some of them. Marcus Hobbs Award, then UNC System Bridges Leadership Program, then North Carolina State Proposed Faculty Fellow, and also 2021 ACS Fellow. I think that's like a huge, huge honor anybody can have on that. So we know that. She has been very active in National Committee, Women Chemist Committee for about 10 years or so, Membership Affairs 2018 until now, and also she has been a very integral part of North Carolina local sections. If you are looking at the slide, you are going to get an idea from this counselor positions, particularly from 2005 and still now. So you know what a role she plays for this local sections, I guess. That's just absolutely amazing. She has been a chair for Project Seed Subcommittee and co-chair of the Educations, and also I think it's a 2 years, like 2012 and 2023. She organized a Southeastern Regional Meeting. So with that, I would like to thank Dr. Laura Sremaniak for accepting my invitations, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm going to try to share my slides here
Yeah,
with you. And I am really enthusiastic about sharing about my leadership journey. I was asked to keep this to 20 minutes, so hopefully that's just about right for you. And I hope along the way in this talk there will be plenty of food for thought you and just ideas that you can apply in your own careers for career development and leadership development. So just to give you a little bit of the outline, I thought I would start back at the very beginning with my upbringing and take you through especially the early part of my career, and then talk a little bit about the role of ACS and where I'm at now, how I hope to apply what I've learned within the ACS, and leave you with some words of wisdom at the end. This little graphic at the bottom, I just thought about sort of the components of leaders and what they do. I do think that leaders think strategically, operate out of a set of core values, set vision, and empower and encourage others to do work, and are oftentimes the person who is really setting the tone in organization. So these components hopefully will come out as I run through this talk. So I was raised by two parents who worked in science and healthcare fields, and they were the ones who gave me the love of science. And I had a very privileged upbringing. I was taken to museums, especially aquariums. My mother was a marine biologist. I was encouraged to enter science competitions. I had a chemistry kit as a kid. Just a really great household for learning about science and being encouraged to pursue that as a field. But they also encouraged me to be a leader. And I think in part that was just an effort to make sure that I learned how to make decisions for myself on my own and not just follow what others were doing. And another aspect of my upbringing, and even today as a person of faith, this idea of servant leadership is really central to my core values in terms of how I frame the whole idea of leadership in terms of putting others first, thinking about how people are integral parts. It's your most valuable resource, no matter what organization you're in. And I think when you have a really well-functioning team, you can achieve goals like pushing your projects forward and advancing careers. That happens naturally on the back end. You don't have to focus on that on the front end so much. So that was the beginning. Fast forwarding to when I started my career here at NC State, I joined the chemistry faculty here right after graduate school at UNC Chapel Hill. And I accepted a teaching position and very quickly became somewhat frustrated with what I'll call the system. Would just see things that I felt like weren't working well or weren't particularly fair. One example being salary inequities. And this isn't a complaint against NC State University per se. A lot of places I think have these types of problems. It's not unique. And I have to give a whole lot of credit to NC State for really improving over the years. I've had my whole career here and can see so much improvement over time, including that very first study on salary inequities that was published here that we all got to see. To his credit, my department head at the time actually did make a correction in salaries. And so that very first advocacy effort that I was a part of had a really good ending. I had other very transformational experiences early in my career here. One of the first was I was appointed to a faculty well-being committee. My university had done a very large-scale satisfaction study for both faculty and staff, and the provost was very interested to understand how we could address some of the concerns. And this was my first experience in working with a vice provost in academic affairs and really diving into the academic policy, the employment rules and regulations at the university. And so I worked with her and a small group of folks on this committee to go about writing policy that put into place essentially the main parts of our promotional system for non-tenure track faculty. Today we're called professional track faculty on this campus, which I think is a better term. But that was my first experience with writing policy and actually seeing the process of how that got adopted. It was a very successful effort. There's a funny story on the second one, how I became associate department chair. Again, back to salaries, I was kind of perplexed about how summer salaries were being determined for teaching faculty. And the model didn't quite make sense to me. And that's one thing sort of led to another. I did this huge analysis of how much we were costing the university in terms of the salary. So looking at that labor cost versus the tuition dollars that we were bringing in as revenue. And those were considerable. In fact, we made quite a lot of money for the university, and yet the salaries were just not where they needed to be, or the model itself just had some deficiencies in it. So I thought about, well, what if I started from scratch? What kind of model would I want to see? Would I build for this? And so I did that. I took all of this information to my department chair, and a few days later, he asks me if I would consider becoming his next associate department chair. So he was, I guess, so impressed with this analysis and really just saw the potential that I had in leading the parts of the department that the associate head does, or chair, as I was called at that time. So, yeah, and by the way, they adopted this compensation model that I had come up with, and it worked very well. Also, at the same time, I had a research collaboration with the former dean of our college as he was transitioning back to the department. Also a computational chemist, and that was just a wonderful research collaboration. But at the same time, because he had been dean and before that a department head, I learned a whole lot about the administration from him, and really owe him a lot in terms of just my formational thinking early in my career. His name is Jerry Witten, and I really just appreciate all of the time and the mentoring that he provided me. In 2016, as you mentioned, I was accepted into the Bridges Leadership Program, a UNC system program, which identifies emerging leaders in our system. We have 17 campuses, and we are taught in this very concentrated program information about how to lead in all sorts of different areas, from conflict management to communication to budgets. There was just a whole lot of information poured into us, and that was just a great program to be a part of. So I'm coming to you from Raleigh, North Carolina, in this building here. I'm in this office at the top. That's our two main buildings, but they're building a building in front. This is no longer a grassy area. There's a new building right behind me here. So I wanted to share what lessons I learned in this first portion of my career. The first is leading from behind. The term influencers really wasn't a thing back then, but essentially, that's what you do when you lead from behind. You try to influence those who are in a position to make decisions, to make really good ones, and to offer up your opinion and information. I think as part of that, it is really helpful if you don't just go to them with a problem, but that you actually have thought about the solution. And whining sessions, they're needed. We need to complain from time to time, but really being a part of that solution is, I think, important to lead successfully from behind. Incremental approaches, when we were approaching that academic policy, there was a whole lot that needed to change about the employment conditions for non-tenure track faculty, but we focused at first on the promotional system. We thought that was the most important thing to tackle first. We've done other policy changes since then, and that's been very successful, but trying to just define your bookends, how much can you do at once? Another administrator taught me when good is enough is really key. You can really wear yourself out in trying to get to perfection. Sometimes good is good enough. And then two other things, back to putting people first and making sure that you only ask others to do what you would also want yourself to do or situation to be in. I think that's very important. And the last one here is actually kind of sad. I don't think that I really considered how much your relationships change when you become a leader, especially to those close colleagues and friends that you have. Those positions of leadership will change them, and sometimes they can be lonely positions for people. So so that's a bit about my early career. In terms of ACS, my first experience beyond just being a member of ACS came with this question. So a colleague in the department, Dr. Bill Schweitzer, asked if I would consider running for a local section office of alternate counselor. Actually found the ballot here in one of our old newsletters. So I ran, was elected, and as you mentioned, I've been counselor after becoming alternate counselor at first. And that's just been a really wonderful experience. But it really started with an invitation. Somebody actually reached out to me. And I know there are a lot of you who have figured out ACS and how you can become involved. And there are a lot of self-starters out there, but sometimes we just have to think about inviting others along. And that was one thing I learned from this. Soon after becoming a counselor, I was appointed to the Women Chemists Committee. So I was a member for many years and then became chair in 2017. And this was just a wonderful committee, a very nurturing environment. They encouraged me to pursue advocacy. So I first chaired that subcommittee before I became chair of the whole committee. And in this role, I learned so many what you would call basic skills, but even things like how you develop an agenda, and these are very large agenda booklets for all-day meetings, how to run those meetings, stay on time, how you build consensus and do project management with volunteers. That has its own aspects as compared to doing things in the workplace where you've got a different set of incentives. And then recognition, that last bullet point, that was actually surprisingly difficult to do. How you do recognition well, how do you not leave people out when you're trying to make sure you've covered your bases with that. It's actually, I think, more difficult than it sounds. I thought I would show you this advocacy effort example here. So chairs of committees get to submit comments to CNEN, and in my year as chair, I chose this topic on advocacy for those who are not on the tenure track. And that was just a great way to highlight all the efforts and activities within the WCC for that. We had other advocacy efforts at the time. I'll just mention two others that were really going strong the year I was chair. One was on sexual harassment, and the other one was on women and technical awards. So not every technical award at the time had yet had a woman be named for that award. So that was another effort we had. And just to leave you here with a picture of that group, I think the best part of serving on a committee or really in any capacity is the people and getting to know so many wonderful people who are just so capable. So that was the group in 2017. And after I turned off WCC, I joined Membership Affairs Committee and chaired that for the years from 22 to 24. And in this committee, because it deals with all things membership, and today we have 100,000 members. If you include community associates, it's over 250,000 in 180 countries. It's really large and complex. And I learned very quickly how important it was for our committee, the Membership Affairs Committee, to be in alignment with the membership division, the staff in Washington, D.C., who are working on all of these issues at the same time and who have a whole lot of subject matter expertise in different areas like marketing that we very much need. So that was one thing right off the bat that I really learned, but yet it took a lot of time and effort to make sure we had really good alignment. Change management was another thing. At the time, we were rolling out a new membership model. After over 100 years of a one-size-fits-all model, we had now this three-tiered benefit system, and I learned a lot about how one has to socialize ideas, how you get buy-in, how you need to reach out to different stakeholders and have a rollout of this information so that you could have the support of council for it to pass. And it had overwhelming support. It was really amazing. But that was a really good lesson to learn. Scale, learning about how you have to do things at scale is another thing that I learned as being chair, even for just very simple things like how does somebody go about paying their dues? That's different in different countries and not a trivial problem to solve. Back to meetings, and you might think I'm focusing too much on meetings, but leaders spend a whole lot of time in meetings. And in being MAC chair, I think I really helped the committee to have more inclusive meetings. That was something that I was learning at the time. Really giving those quieter members who don't often speak a chance to voice their concerns, and then making sure that there was space for dissension. I think were two things that were important. And then I gained a lot more confidence. I had to be in front of council every meeting. So I would give a report and then open it up to questions. And I was asked plenty of very difficult questions. I had to really know a lot about the data and be able to just answer questions on the fly. But I learned how to do that. It gave me a whole lot more confidence. I think the imposter syndrome is very real and something that's, not so easy to work through. So currently, I'm still a counselor, member of the Budget and Finance Committee, which is soon going to be changing its name, focusing on society finance as opposed to enterprise finance. And I'm, of course, a candidate for ACS President-Elect. Very, very humbled to be on the ballot. And if elected, I hope that I can apply a lot of this leadership experience in these areas that you see here, amplifying our efforts within ACS to improve the communication of science and education, and also in membership. And in helping us move along in these areas, I really, again, want to be a positive advocate for change and also empowering others to do the same in their areas and what's important to say the YCC. Moving the needle on membership is going to be really important because we're facing really serious demographic headwinds within the ACS. And that's something that we need a whole lot of input on from YCC members. As president of ACS, I think casting vision is really important. Being an inspirational communicator, especially among volunteers and volunteer leaders, and developing leaders, I think is something that I'm really interested in spending time on within the presidential succession should I be elected. So I thought I would leave you with just a few nuggets of wisdom here, maybe things that you can apply in your own leadership development. Back to people, learning how to build a network, really spending intentional time on that. I have found that hard to do. And one mechanism that I finally figured out maybe mid-career was, wow, back to the meeting idea. If you show up a little bit early to meetings, whether they be virtual or in person, sometimes there's somebody else there that you really are interested in developing a good working relationship with, or perhaps there's somebody they're in a position to make the decision, and you get to really speak into that with them before the meeting begins. And that, I think, is just really valuable and a really nice way to help develop your network and to build relationships. Using the 80% rule, meaning listen 80% of the time, only talk 20%. I think that's a good one too. Learning how to weigh risks and just having the courage to step out and be bold. The best definition of courage that I've ever heard is just do it scared. And then after you do enough things that way, right, you can gain more and more confidence as you go forward. And then 3 more here, learning to delegate as what you are leading becomes bigger. That is really important to do. And then again, for people, paying it forward, I think is so important. You can already mentor people around you. I think nominating people for awards is another way to help others in their career advancement. There's always something that I think is possible for all of us to do, no matter where we are in our career progression. And then as leaders, finding outlets to alleviate stress, it can be super stressful. And I thought I would just share with you a picture there of one of my outlets to at least alleviate stress. My cat and dog, the orange cat is named Ringo. The dog is Rocket. And yes, the cat does like to walk on a leash with the dog. So yeah, anyway, but that's the end. I will leave you all with that. I see Lisa has joined, and yeah, I would be happy to take questions whenever you want to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much for such a fantastic talk.
Sure.
I wanted to know if Hov has any question for you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So I always love when people tell us about all the things that went really well for them, because I think that's great and it's very inspirational. But I also really like about hearing what didn't go well. What was maybe either like the first big thing that you did that just fell completely flat, or a really memorable time for you that didn't work out. How did you recover? If you could recover, if you couldn't recover, how did you learn from that for the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. Boy, it's hard to choose one. I think the things that I feel like don't go well oftentimes have revolved around faculty meetings. And again, this isn't, you know, something against my colleagues, and I think it would happen no matter where I am. But, oftentimes that's where you just see difficult questions being asked, or it's hard to really get buy-in to an idea. Oftentimes I am the person that delivers some bad news. It's not all, roses. And that can just be, can be difficult. So, and then not, having the thick skin to let things roll off, letting things just eat away. That has happened to me too. And it's not good. It's not healthy, but, yeah, I'm not like built like a duck where everything just rolls off. So that has been difficult too. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just had one quick question though. So very recently we had YCC 50-year anniversary, and then I was actually talking about some of the issue which people are thinking about that we might experience for the next decade or so. And I was thinking about one issue could be depression, because a lot of younger chemists are having trouble in terms of the depressions related to their personal life or a professional life. There are several. So being in these positions for such a long period of time, I'm sure you had seen people at least who had to go through a very difficult time, and they're not getting enough confidence, or they just are unsure about what they're going to do next. So do you have any advice for especially those young chemists how they can actually, or like what advice generally you offer to them to overcome those. That would be really great for a lot of people, I guess.
That's a really big question, but it's a super important one. And being on a campus, we have had so many student suicides, and I think it's increasing actually the amount of just anxiety and depression that people are experiencing. I actually also am concerned about faculty and staff burnout on academic campuses and even in other workplaces besides, even though I don't have like firsthand experience right outside academia. But I really do think that it's important to develop really healthy workplaces where people actually care and there is healthy communities. And I think that's where the ACS can really play a role to give a conduit for that to form away from one's workplace or even other relationships, say within a neighborhood where you live, because not everybody works in a place where you do have camaraderie and really good open exchanges of ideas or the opportunities to share at a more personal level. Sometimes, it's easier to do that in a place that's disconnected from your workplace. So I think having those really healthy communities is one antidote to that.
Cool. That's very helpful. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we are all good with our questions. So very welcome, Professor McElwee-White. You can
I do apologize. Sometimes life gets in the way, and it did this evening. And you're going to see how fast I can scramble. And here we go.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for joining. And I already introduced you while we were not here.
I'd love to know what you said, or maybe not, since I wasn't here to
No,
see it.
that's totally fine. The reason being that I'm already recording this meeting, and also I want to let you beforehand because, like a lot of people are joining like across the globe, and then they have a time differences and all the difficulties. So we post that in the YouTube channel. Yeah. So I will send you the link. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, please go ahead, and we really look forward to your leadership journey.
All right. I'm going to take just a second to close the door behind me because life is still going on back
Yeah,
there.
no, totally. That's fine. No issues.
So some days the chaos is never ending, and you end up being recorded while wearing a Captain America t-shirt and being late to a meeting. But that's how life goes sometimes. So I have taken a very interesting nonlinear leadership journey. I started out in graduate school being part of the Caltech Organization for Women, which was, by the way, in the 1980s, a very, very small group. But you learned very quickly how to scramble, how to be convincing to other people who maybe weren't so concerned with women's issues because they were among the, 85 to 90% people who were men. And so I got through that, and I was bold and daring and moved to postdoc for Jim Coleman at Stanford, and he needed a head postdoc for his group, right? And so I was changing fields. My PhD was in physical organic, and I was being asked to lead a group of organometallic chemists. Also in the position of being a woman, leading a group that was mostly male. And okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell the story. So I got there, turned around, went down the basement stairs, looked back, and there was a poster on the wall behind me of a naked woman from here to the legs. She didn't even have a head, right? And I looked at this thing briefly and thought, I just can't even, right? So I took it off the wall, carefully rolled it up, stashed it in the corner. And about a day later, my new postdoc advisor came down. Like, where's my poster? Um, and I just looked at him and smiled and said, why, Professor Coleman, if I'd known you wanted it, I'd have brought it up to your office. And he went, ah, and turned around up the stairs. And from that time forward, the woman postdoc leading this research group had no problems. And so the answer is, be bold, right? And so shortly after that, I was at Stanford and they were doing a search for an assistant professor in my field, organic chemistry. I had no idea that I was going to look for a job. I wasn't going to do it for another year, but there was the opportunity. My husband was a molecular biologist, and at the time, all the jobs in the country were in the Bay Area and in Boston. So if we were going to solve the two career couple problem, there we were. And so I watched all the people that interviewed for this job at Stanford and thought, I'm better than that, which may or may not have been true. But I asked if I could toss my name into the hat for the search after it had basically closed. And they said, fine, we'll interview you on Monday. It was Friday and I had no proposals. And so I think people now looking for jobs start writing their proposals like 6 months in advance. I wrote mine in the weekend in the Stanford library. Fortunately, I had several from having put them in my Caltech dissertation. And so no one was more surprised than I was after this totally unprepared Monday interview when they offered me the job, which I agreed to take it. And I was talking to the department chair. He said, how much do you need for startup money? And I had no idea, right? Like, can I get back to you tomorrow? Once again, completely unprepared. Called up Steve Buchwald, whom I knew from grad school, asked him how much MIT gave him, added 10K to the number and turned it in, right? Unfortunately, the department chair said, oh, we can do that. And I not well done. But it's always been these bold moves that have paid off for me. I mean, you have to be willing that if it's going to blow up in your face, it's going to blow up in your face. But time and again, it was just dive in, right? And so then I eventually decided I really didn't want to stay at Stanford. And so I left before getting a tenure decision. But I had done the experiment. I was happy. I knew I didn't like it. Went to Florida, loved it. And then the dean asked, would you be willing to apply for the associate dean position? And I'd never been a department chair. I'd never done any of these things, right? I said, sure, why not, right? And applied, got the job, did it for 4 years for the term. Once again, learned, hey, I don't like this. And so maybe it was other people's dream to go up the administrative ladder, but it wasn't mine. And so I was asked to stay on as associate dean. I said, no, thank you. Went back to faculty, which was the position that I wanted. It was the mission I'd signed up for. Loved it. I've turned down many opportunities to go up the ladder in administration. I didn't want to because I'd lose my research group. Kept turning down the department chair a job at 6-year intervals as it came up, like, no, right. Everybody said, oh, you've been in the college office, how this is going to work. And I said, exactly. I just spent 4 years telling department chairs, no, are you kidding? And then finally, I ran out of excuses and ran out of senior colleagues who I wanted as my department chair, which is eventually what happens. And I agreed to take it. And it turned out to be right before the COVID pandemic. In some ways, taking the job was easier for me because I had been an associate dean. I knew how the college worked. I knew a lot about administration, about time management, about how to keep a research group going. But so in my first 6 months as department chair, we had Hurricane Irma, which blasted our campus. We had the Richard Spencer Nazi March. There was, and you can Google this part, the racist commencement marshal issue, who was one of my colleagues. I mean, it kept coming, kept coming, kept coming. And then with 2 days notice, we shut down the campus for COVID. And we had 2 days to take everything online. We teach between 8,000 and 9,000 undergraduates per semester in chemistry in my department. It's high throughput education. And we had to reorganize the whole thing in 2 days. And we got the job done. If there's anything I can do, it's marshal people to get their act together and get moving, right? This is my superpower. And the one thing that we did that I'm the most proud of is we never taught an online lab past Gen Chem 1. So all of our later labs, upper division labs, I said, oh, hell no. The summer of 2020, when the entire campus was closed, there were 12 students on campus, and they were chemistry seniors who were graduating in August, taking their last lab live and in person. And of course, that gave us a bolus of students who, who needed lab seats we didn't have, right? But we worked it all out. Everybody got educated. It all worked. I was chair for 7 years, hired 22 faculty members as a chair through all the retrenching of everything else. But it all built upon itself, starting from leading a handful of women at Caltech, march, learn what you can't do, learn what you can't do, and learn how to get things done. And that's what I know how to do, get things done despite it all. That was a long answer to a short question, wasn't it?
No, nice to know all those stories. That's just amazing how you just like had the shaping of the career. Hope, do you have any questions? Like,
Okay. I would love to know a little bit about your time throughout ACS as well, if you don't mind sharing.
Absolutely. So this is another string of good stories. So despite the fact of what my research is now, I was trained as an organic chemist, and my ACS service actually started through a technical division, through the Division of Organic Chemistry. And my reputation as what my colleagues once called the velvet steamroller, right? I get things done, right? They asked me to become the program chair for organic, and it was about 900 abstracts a meeting at the time. And it was just at the transition to online abstract submission. So I was program chair for the first meeting with OASIS, which was, by the way, written in-house and kind of buggy. My predecessor was someone who didn't want to give up the job. So they basically pulled it out of his hands, handed it to me, and said, by the way, here's 900 abstracts. Good luck, right? And at the time, I was an associate dean and I had a 2-year-old. So I get stuff done, right? And so I managed to do it. And at the time, it was a one-person job for 8 national meetings. I did this. And at that point, I started to walk away. They said, no, you have to run for member at large. stayed on the executive committee, eventually went through the chair-elect, division chair, past chair. I'm now a counselor for the same division after once again having turned that down multiple times, and then I finally surrendered. In parallel, I did 14 years on the Committee on Professional Training. So I got pulled in to be the replacement for someone who had resigned from the committee early, and did it approximately forever. Also, that even though I'm not a chem ed person by training, I know an incredible amount of stuff about chemistry curricula and how things work, how they're done, how they're not done. Eventually, they decided that in the committee structure that people should be rotated off committees, which by that time I was all for it, man. The CPT workload is about 15 days a year, some of which are meetings and some of which are reviewing. It's a huge workload. And so I got dumped off of that. Well, let's just say my term ended and I rolled off the CPT and thought, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to walk away from this, and somehow ended up on the Society Committee on Publications, which is basically supervisory at some level for all the journals, overlooking the editorial processes. How many journals does the ACS have? Like, I don't know, 90 or something now. And so we reviewed those in sequence. It's kind of like reviewing journals instead of reviewing the programs for the CPT, curriculum programs. And so after 2 years of this, the Pubs Committee kind of voted itself out of existence at the last council meeting, you may have noticed. And I was one of the people who was rolled over to the new ACS Journal Advisory Board, which reports to the governing board of publishing, but once again is overlooking the editorial practices of 90 journals. So for some reason, I take on the big jobs. There are some committees that don't do anything. I end up on the ones that do all kinds of stuff. And so at this point, I'm still on the ACS Journal Advisory Board, and I'm still an organic division counselor, and that's where it sits now. But it's, once again, it's not in my DNA to screw things up. And so the problem with doing huge jobs well is you get more huge jobs. It cycles, And now here we are. But it's been incredibly rewarding, all of this stuff. I have really enjoyed my service with the ACS, all of it. Additional questions?
Oh, I just was curious that it seems like that, and I also mentioned that during my introductions that you have been very integral part of like the divisions of organic chemistry. But when I was looking at it, I just was thinking that you also have been an editorial board member for ACS Applied Material and
Yes.
Interfaces. And I
Yes.
was really curious, to be honest. I mean, it's just like my curiosity.
How did this happen? So I have always walked my own path, and that is true of research area as well. So I started out as a physical organic chemist, got into organometallic chemistry, and over time, what I have become is a depositor of inorganic materials and nanostructures. And this was another one of these be bold, lucky accidents, or we'll call it be bold, right? So I was at the time very interested in metal nitrogen multiple bonding, and we had made a bunch of metal imido complexes that had CO ligands, carbonyls. And I was sitting in a seminar where someone was doing chemical vapor deposition of tungsten thin films from tungsten hexacarbonyl. And I was thinking about our compounds and those metal nitrogen multiple bonds. And about a day later, I called a friend in chemical engineering and said, hey, is tungsten nitride good for anything? And there was this long pause on the phone. And then the response was, holy shit, do you know how to make tungsten nitride? Maybe. And it turned out that that was the moment in which the semiconductor industry was switching from aluminum to copper metallization in chips. Metallization is the wiring in computer chips. And the old diffusion barriers that kept the metal from going into the silicon and shorting out the device, the old barriers were titanium nitride for the aluminum metallization, didn't work for copper. And the candidate material for diffusion barriers, one of them was tungsten nitride. And so there was huge interest in the semiconductor industry in being able to deposit very thin films of tungsten nitride in the vias of computer chips. And so I started this collaboration with my friend in chemical engineering, and about 50 papers later, I had found myself as a depositor of materials. And so then I got invited to meetings to talk about chemical vapor deposition and semiconductor manufacturing and all this. And then another friend said, oh, do you know how to do like electron beam precursors for deposition? And my first question is, there's electron beam deposition? What? And it turns out that you can modify a scanning electron microscope, use the beam that is normally used for imaging, and use it for basically 3D printing of metal nanostructures. So I know I don't have slides, but I have a picture of a buckyball with a 300 nanometer scale bar, except no one knows who could do that sort of thing, anything about deposition chemistry. And so they buy CVD precursors, chemical vapor deposition precursors for thermal processes, and it totally doesn't work. And so I got pulled into another precursor design project, and eventually these things kept happening. And so now my group is 100% precursors for materials deposition, which at the beginning of this question resulted in my being pulled into the editorial advisory board for ACS Applied Materials and Interfaces, because that's what I do. I put down materials and interfaces. And I will say, you know, for the people who are wondering, what should I work on? The answer, at least for me, was just get started and follow the science. I mean, you could draw a line from my original physical organic work to the organometallic stuff, to catalysis we did, to metal nitrogen multiple bonds, to materials. And it was just a matter of me being willing to dive into an area that I knew nothing about. And here's the big secret, okay? If you're willing to dive into things, be bold, once again, the fact that you don't know everything can actually be an advantage, okay? Because you don't know enough to talk yourself out of experiments. And so you can do what looks to people in the field like an incredibly stupid experiment. If it turns out badly, just pretend you never did it, right? But the lore will sometimes keep you from doing the right thing. And if you're somebody like me that's walking into a meeting of like me and 500 applied physicists, which I just did this last week, right? The Three Beams meeting, you know, I can suggest things, I can do things, I can suggest collaborations that just may work because I don't know enough not to do it.
Very inspirational. Thank you very much. You have any questions, Dr. Sremaniak or Hope? Like,
Just wondering what Hope's cat's name is. It's all little
Oh, is there a cat?
cat.
I shut mine out because, you know, My
That's
cat
why
has
I'm
this.
at work.
Oh
Yeah.
no, that's smart. My cat's signature move is to walk up on the keyboard, face me, which puts the back into the cat right into the camera. So he's out there.
Yes, he's very upset. He sits on my lap during work meetings because they know that I have two cats. So normally both of them will come and sit on my lap. And I'm like, not right now, buddy. But his name is Obito.
Aw.
He's a special little dumb guy. We love him. He tries his best. He's not good at much, but he's great.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, it was a fantastic meeting. Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Sremaniak and McElwee-White. It's all great informations and advice. And I mean, I'm sure, Hope, thanks so very much for registering, being here. I mean, I think it's been helpful for you. I learned so much, and I certainly will tell my colleagues to post this on YouTube channel, and hopefully we're gonna see it offline. We'll be able to know a lot from this. And thank you very much. And very, very good luck with your career. And of course, I'm going to send you a link. And if you have any questions, please let me know. You have my email ID. I also sent that starter kit in the chat box. So hope you can just download that. So yeah,
Thank you.
thank
And
you
I
so very much.
apologize again for being late. Like I said, life gets in the way, and I'm very, very sorry. And I'm sorry I missed Laura's talk. I would love to have heard what you had to say about all of this. Maybe I'll have to watch the YouTube part.
There you go.
Absolutely.
You
We
can
do
speed
have.
me up by like a factor of 2.
And I'll turn it off before I get to where I come segueing in my Captain America t-shirt.
I think it's a great fit. Great choice.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you very much
Thank
for
you
the
so very much.
invitation.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
And thanks for accepting that as well. Thank you very much. Okay.
Nice to meet you. Good to
Yeah.
see you again, Lisa.
All
Good to
right.
see you too.
See you in
Yeah.
Chicago.
See you in Chicago as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
one.